I think women on a team in architecture bring the ability to compromise and to arrive at conclusions rather than edicts. Handling things in that manner is a wonderful way to keep clients. When they know they are part of the team and that they're comfortable with you, they come back. It started with a high school art teacher who, rather than making everyone stick to a set curriculum, encouraged all of us to sort of follow our dream and work on things that we were really interested in. And so she let me work on architectural things and learn how to do renderings, and I would design houses and buildings and what have you. My junior year of high school, she took me over to tour the school and to talk to faculty members, and without that I probably would have dropped the whole idea. And I did get into the School of Architecture at Minnesota. It had to be a local college because I couldn't afford to go anywhere to school, and it had to be all scholarships, but I had no idea what to expect when I started at the university on this whole venture. Many things happened there that I'm sure would be totally out of place today, like asking me to pour coffee at get-togethers with visiting critics, that they would get together with the faculty. I don't think today you would tell someone to wear a nice dress so they were going to pour. The biggest influence for my career was having Ralph Rapson as the head of School of Architecture. Without him, I wouldn't have gotten in, because the previous head of the school felt that it was a woman's place to be in the home. So there hadn't been any women in the school for a decade. Being a woman in this profession, I think, is somewhat dependent on when you come into the profession. At the time I came in, it didn't seem to be an issue. And so I found that classmates and co-workers and clients, planning commissions, seemed to treat it as no big deal. It seems like that has changed over the years, and I'm hoping that we're on our way back to everybody being viewed as equals. I find that when I was in school and when I first started working in architecture, the profession had not become compartmented as it is now. I think that was a real plus. In a way, it was much more freewheeling. You didn't just design the building and then work with 14 other consultants to get the whole project put together. You did your own interiors, you did your own graphic design, you did your landscape planning. It was a lot more the master builder approach. I was very happy being able to design carpet to go into a specific theater and design murals to go into, of all things, rental apartment buildings. It allowed, I think, a greater understanding of what the little things are that count. The new Lund store was the first expansion of their 2 or 3 store chain. It was so fun and interesting being an integral part with the owners in the planning of every last little detail in the store. To design all of the signage, to design the departments, to design murals. It was totally out of the realm of how things happened at that time. Grocery stores were pretty utilitarian at that point, so they certainly entered the metro market with a new addition that was smashing. Janis and I started practicing together. Well, we both worked at Gingold Pink. He started there in 1967. I had started there as a real green student between grades 1 and 2 in 1956. At that time, a large firm had 50 people in it, not 285 as we now have. We got to know each other at the firm and ultimately got married while we were there and left there in 1973. So at that point, Janis became a part of the farm and I went to work for Smiley Glotter. He made the big leap in 1976 and then I joined in 77. So we had 30-some years working in 3 or 4 different buildings on the farm. My husband and I first had any involvement with the place. It was owned by a person, not the city of Brooklyn Center. The firm grew as the farm grew. When we started our own firm, one of the things I had learned was I wanted to make sure I didn't make any of the mistakes that had happened at previous employers. And so working with the staff, my first thing was, would I like this if we were turned around? Sort of use the golden rule. One thing that I think a lot of people aren't aware of is that FAIA isn't given strictly for design or office practice, but is also given for service to the profession. I found that giving back to the profession was almost as important as doing architecture itself, because it's amazing what you can accomplish as a volunteer. It expands your view of the world that you live in. It shows you how much joy you can get out of really the help that you're providing. It makes you feel really good. And so I spent about 10 years with NCARB on their exam writing, 8 years on the Minnesota Registration Board, was president of AIE Minnesota in what I think was one of the toughest years ever in 2001, when we really didn't know what our future was after September 11th. Then going on to work with Minnesota Architectural Foundation, building those scholarships. Being FAIA is one of those things that it's really hard to explain. You've filled out all of their forms, and the first rule for that is, now don't be shy. You think you're making all of these preposterous claims about your life, and then when it comes true, it feels unreal. By far, it's the most cherished part of my being in architecture. My advice to young architects, number one, don't take yourself too seriously. And number two, start as early as you can, giving back to both your profession and the community. Search out professionals. Spend a day or a week just following them around and seeing this is what architecture is. Even though the architecture is the prime point in your education and training, it's all of the other stuff that adds together to really turn you into an architect and someone that can boil down all sorts of divergent ideas and thoughts and wishes into something that works. I hope my legacy is she was one of the boys, and this was the basis of the way I did things when I was in school. I figured if the guys have to stay up all night, I have to stay up all night. If they have to go tramping through who knows what, I do too. Then whatever grades I earn and work that I come up with, then I will feel that I earned it, and no one can take that away from me.